Waxing Lyrical Baby.
Hello, Waxers, and welcome to Waxing Lyrical Mainz and Dutts. I'm your host, Mainz. My colleague in the danger zone in Rainford is Mr. Neil Dutton. How are we, Neil?
Feeling very dangerous at the moment. The thunder and lightning is approaching biblical proportions.
Liverpool is basically under attack, based on what I've seen over the past few days. Norfolk has been 9 o'clock hot tub sessions for yours truly, so enjoy the rain.
Poseidon is not happy with us.
Add him to the effing list, Neil. Add him to the effing list. If there were many gods, they would all be really pissed at the humans right now. If we went Greek/Roman style, but there you go. We could do that all day, but we're not going to. So today we're going to go a couple of classic Whale Worlds, one with a Father's Day twist. We're going to look briefly at some NFL news, and then we've got a wonderful interview, which we recorded earlier this week, with Justin Hathaway at NFL Newshound, lover of fish and chips, a fellow Liverpool fan, and let's be honest, one of the creators of Around the NFL, Around the League, whatever you want to call it, with Chris, Dan, Greg, and Mark.
Indeed. Great chat.
Top man, great chat. He lives in San Francisco, so we woke him up. Go us. We'd finished our day. He hadn't even started his. Gotta love time zones.
Imagine the first thing you have to, before your working day really gets going, the first thing you have to do is talk to us.
Yeah, the only thing...
Could you be asked?
No, first of all, I couldn't be asked. Although I am all for that time zone of let's get up. Oh, look, it's the footy. Oh, look, it's the middle of the day. Oh, look, here's the NFL. Oh, look, it's still not really evening. It's Sunday night football. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, San Francisco and the West Coast. We'll be having some of that. Also, he smugly told us it was 75 and sunny, so he can do one in terms of his get-up time and who he has to look at when he speaks to us on Skype/Zoom.
I hardly feel he's alone in telling us it was 75 and sunny in California on the pantheon of getters we've had.
Every one of those see you next Tuesdays tells me it's 75 and effing sunny. There you go. On that note, Neil, let's get on with the show and let's start with some classic Weird Worlds. It's one of them stories that your wife always asks you, what would you do for your wife, Neil? Do you know, would you do that for me, Neil? I'm sure Kate has said many times, usually with you saying, no chance, love. But there you go. Man faked wife's disappearance so she'd avoid prison, say police. Rodney and Julia Wheeler allegedly pretend she plummeted from an overlook so she could avoid being sentenced on a charge of federal healthcare fraud later this month. A West Virginia woman, if you know West Virginia, we're already in the zone of this makes sense, and her husband faked their disappearance by pretending she plummeted from an overlook as part of a scheme to keep her out of having to go to prison, authorities said. Julia Wheeler and Rodney Wheeler, great names, were arrested Tuesday on multiple charges, including conspiracy and giving false information to West Virginia State Police. State Police said Julia Wheeler was reported missing Sunday by her husband and his 17-year-old son. Didn't mention that he was also in on the act. The family claimed Julia Wheeler had fallen from the main overlook at New River Gorge National Park. Service Ranger Leah Pekowski said the authorities searched for Wheeler for days, but found her Tuesday alive and well, hiding in her closet at home. If you were gonna fake your disappearance, Reggie Perrin-esque style, i.e. one for the kids there, although they did do it again recently with Martin Clunes, Garbage. We're not talking about that one. Do you think it would be more sensible not to hide in your own closet?
Yeah, it was a stupid plan, but it might have worked if you'd, taken a little holiday. See, the problem I have with this is, what was the setting was Wheeler.
Wheeler, yeah, Wheeler.
Now, people may be aware there was a sitcom in America in the 80s called Night Court. And basically it followed the adventures, as it were, of a nighttime local court. So it'd be people getting brought in for all kinds of, essentially minor demeanours and whatnot. And there was a semi-recurring family called the Wheelers, yokels, sons of the soil, I think the phrase will go with, politically correct. And every time they tried something, it would end up going disastrously wrong, and they'd end up in court. This sounds like the next generation of that thing. Basically, this is a Night Court episode, and obviously the reason I do point out is that the man who played Bob Wheeler was Brent Spiner, who ended up playing Data in Star Trek: The Next Generation. But yeah, that sounds it's a terrible plan. It was piss poorly executed, and probably isn't. They're not going to get any time off for the gags and the laughs that they provided to the federal investigators.
No, absolutely not, Neil. Absolutely not. Let's move on. It's obviously Father's Day on Sunday here in the UK. I'm not sure if it's Father's Day everywhere else. Don't know that.
I don't think so.
But here's one for you on HuffingtonPost.co.uk. 22 weird Father's Day gifts your dad wants more than what you plan to give him. Okay, I'm going to give you a list here. I'm just gonna list them, and then I want you to give me thoughts on any of them. There's a merman tail, luggage featuring your dad's ugly mug, Vulcan earbuds, a pot for pot, Captain Jean-Luc Picard facepalm sculpture, stretchy Donald Trump doll, beef jerky bouquet, Joe Namath action figure, unicorn taco holder, tuxedo onesie, Pokemon ball waffle iron, portable pizza oven, preserved horse turd, I said that right, skin tag remover, pot vending machine, portable solar generator, Darth Vader blazer, try and say that 4 times fast, customized colouring pages, banana whiskey, coconut chocolate peanut butter pizza, kangaroo pouch shirt, and then stupid cards. Neil, let's be honest, we only want to talk about 2 here, Vulcan earbuds and the Jean-Luc Picard statue.
Well, yeah, honourable mention to the unicorn taco holder. I mean, why do you need a taco holder? Eat the bloody thing. These are your taco holders, he says, holding up his hands.
He says holding up his paws.
Yeah, his grubby mitts. If you need help holding tacos are not the food for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, Vulcan earbuds.
So that literally is an inner earbud, okay? And it goes over the top of your ear, and over the top of your ear is, the pointy bits.
To what end? Are they headphones or?
It's a headphone. Yeah, it's a headphone.
Yeah.
So imagine a Beats headphone where it goes over your ear, but instead of closely going over your ear, it has literally a Vulcan bit.
Highly illogical.
How about getting yourself a Captain Jean-Luc Picard facepalm sculpture to put in your pride place in your lounge? Sure, Kate'd love it.
Sure she would. Sure she'd talk to it more than she talks to me.
Well, probably get more sense out of the sculpture than she was talking to you too.
And to be fair, if I was to sit in the living room with my face in my hand, she wouldn't talk to me. But I think if Patrick Stewart or a model of Sir Patrick was there, she'd probably give that a bit more attention.
I just want to go back to the preserved horse turds, which I kind of skipped over. They're crappy Father's Day gifts, but not like this. Each jar contains preserved poop from Silver Charm, a Hall of Fame thoroughbred that ran in the Kentucky Derby in 1997. So it's not just It's not just any horse poo. It's famous horse poo. How about that?
This is M&S horse shit.
Exactly right. Exactly. Awesome. If you love a weird world story, as we do, I would recommend sending it to us at waxing_lyrical, or individually. Neil is at ndutton13 and I am at Mainzy7. Neil, before we get to speak to Justin, let's quickly do some NFL news. Madden came out this week, or you are the gamer of the group in terms of when it comes to Madden. You've played it before. It's Lamar Jackson I guess the quick question is, should Baltimore Ravens fans be fearful of Lamar being on the cover?
No, the last two people who've been on the cover won the Super Bowl that year. Patrick Mahomes last year, Tom Brady the year before.
Tom Brady was 18, and 19 was Antonio Brown.
Oh, sorry, yeah, okay.
Just to let you know, on a similar and unrelated note, Patrick Mahomes dislocated his kneecap last year. Antonio Brown, total and utter mentalist.
To be fair, though,
can't really argue with the Tom Brady thing. Madden 2017, Gronk, he didn't really play that year. Madden 25 by Adrian Peterson. That was the year he, did stuff and didn't play. Who can ever forget the famous Madden 12 with who, Neil? Can you remember?
Calvin Johnson.
No, Peyton Hillis.
Oh, Peyton Hillis. God.
Madden 11 was Drew Brees, who had his worst year to date. Madden 10 was Troy Polamalu.
And Fitzgerald.
And Fitzgerald. Polamalu had a medial ligament. He missed the first 4 games, 3 more games, only to then do his PCL and would miss the rest of the year.
Then it was Favre.
Then it was Favre before that.
Vince Young.
In a Green Bay jersey. That was in a Green Bay jersey. Vince Young, yeah, that went well. Year before, no, Alexander.
Alexander, yeah.
He was
then McNabb.
wrist McNabb, yeah, stroke again.
Then Vic.
Ray Lewis.
Then Vic.
That was the first time the Ravens hadn't made it in years. Lewis tore his hamstring. He fractured his right fibula that year and was forced to miss 11 games. Vic. Year before was Falk. Curse strikes. The first time he didn't run for 1,000 yards. 11 was Culpepper. Yeah, he suffered a knee injury and would miss the rest of that season.
Eddie George.
It wasn't great. Curse struck. Oh my God. Cover athlete was Barry Sanders and Dorsey Levens. Madden 99, Garrison Hurst. Awesome. Yeah. So I think what we're saying is, in recent years, the curse hasn't been great. But by Jove, was it terrible in the beginning years. People were going down left, right and centre. And some of the names are a bit weird, you know. It was probably funny when we picked Peyton Hillis. I can't remember, but it's not that funny now. But there were some really great players who didn't have great years because of being on Madden. I'm with you. I don't really expect it to affect Lamar in any way. And to be honest, I don't play Madden because you just engage 8 all the time, and I'm not quick enough to press the buttons. So screw you. You spoiled my Madden experience forever.
I think it is strange though that, you know, in terms of people who have been accused in the past of putting up video game numbers, that Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning have never been on the cover.
It is a bit weird that I don't really know how they even pick it, because the last 2 years it's been the MVP, but I don't know how they pick some of them before it, because obviously Rodgers and Manning have picked MVPs. I think the Hillis year, that was a fan vote, if I remember correctly, and they all fought against each other in like a 64-man bracket. So yeah, that worked out well. Another one for democracy there.
The big problem with Madden, I find, is, and this is where you get the problem with in real life, is that all these people, his ratings and all that, he's 97 or what, but Madden doesn't appreciate the idea of scheme fit. So just because someone he's 99 ranked middle linebacker playing in a 4-3. Well, I play a 3-4. I'll just slot him in there. Doesn't work in the real world. So this is where you get, where Jason Peters. Well, if it was Madden, he could play guard. This isn't Madden. However, he's played left tackle for 15 years. just because he's 97 at left tackle, but he's 82 maybe if he moved to guard. Yeah, it doesn't work that way, unfortunately.
Although that would be cool. Neil, next story is a pitch around, which we haven't got pictures for, but Tampa went full all in pretty boy quarterback pictures this week with pictures of Tom Brady. Two things: he looked pretty, he always does, and he looked less menacing. I don't know. I suppose it'd be like what a stormtrooper would look like before he became a stormtrooper.
It's as you say. It's that Tampa Bay jersey. We don't exactly associate it with clinical, ruthless precision, especially as I'm fairly certain the last Tampa Bay quarterback to wear 12 was Trent Dilfer. So again, I'm not exactly blown away. Put it this way, I'm not cacking myself just because you're wearing different duds.
I had a stat today, if we talk about former Tampa QBs, that Jameis Winston has thrown more interceptions in his career than Aaron Rodgers has. And Aaron Rodgers is 10 years older than Jameis Winston. My response, maybe Aaron Rodgers needs to be more reckless. I think it is weird. Like, I always find it weird, and it will go down as one of them, you used to players being in a certain uniform, and then you see them in another one, and it just strikes you as bizarre.
Yeah. There's a video on NFL Throwback which you can find on YouTube. There's quite a lot actually. It's a good site, but it's stars who ended their career in different uniforms and looked odd. So you've got the likes of Emmitt Smith, in a Cardinals jersey, Joe Namath in a Rams jersey, Johnny Unitas in a Chargers, T.O. in Bengals and Bills. It is quite interesting, because you look at these people, it's like, that just looks. In most cases, it's the same number, but
again, and having the same number thing is weird as well. I mean, the other issue that I'm sure Charles Dagnall and the rest of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans, all four of them in the UK, will be interested or hoping for is that it doesn't work out like most of them do, where the players are crap in their other team as well.
Be a shame, wouldn't it?
It'd be a shame for Charles, who I like a lot, and I know you do. So yeah, I think deep down. Now we're just talking amongst friends here. Secretly, we all want Tom to do well and the Patriots to suck. But that's not going to happen. It's going to be the other way around. But deep down, if someone put a gun to your head, you'd be like, I really hope it was Tom and not Bill, because Bill's a bit of a douche.
Yeah, I knew it was you, Fredo. I mean, in an ideal world, they'd both suck.
Well, yeah, I guess that would be probably funnier. But in the percentage odds world, I'm going to say that there's more chance that Brady sucks than Bill sucks.
Stidham season.
Stidham season, indeed. Neil, news out. Final bit. News out today that the Hall of Fame game looks like it will be behind closed doors. Now, no one cares about the Hall of Fame game, right? And I'm not pretending that anyone does, but I just find it interesting that a game that's scheduled to take place on August the 6th in Ohio, I believe there are teams who play in Ohio, two of them, won't have fans for that game, which calls into question already whether we will have any fans in any stadia in the NFL this year.
I think the first thing the NFL need to do is actually come out and say, look, regardless, we will not be having fans in the stadium, because that helps them along their way of getting the games played. If they cling to the idea of we will have fans in the stadium, as soon as there is a major outbreak, then that kiboshes everything.
Should we play a game based on your logic here? What do all the NFL owners have in common? They're all dead rich. Do you know how they're dead rich? From making loads of money. Do you know what they're not going to do until the very last possible moment? Deny themselves lots of money. So if you believe in your world, which is a nice world, that the NFL owners are going to say, do you know what? this year we're just going to throw away billions of dollars in July, even though we know there's a possibility we may still get it in September, you, my friend, are the problem.
There is one thing that should be noted as well, especially with some notable free agents still on the board. People like Jadeveon Clowney and Cam Newton, Colin Kaepernick, we can say with some degree of hope. The salary cap is going to go down next year. It stands to reason.
Yeah.
So I think you'll find there's quite a few teams who've got at least 20 million of cap space now.
Yeah.
Now, as you know, you can carry cap space forward into next season. So you're going to find teams now are not going to want to splash out.
As long as they've reached the minimum, right? As long as they've reached the minimum.
As long as you've reached the minimum. So it's going to be a case of, for example, I think the Eagles have 22 million in cap space at the moment. Next year, then, when the cap drops 30 million, they're going to say, we only need to shave 8 million off because we can carry over 22 million. Mm-hmm. And obviously, this is going to factor into some players who are playing essentially this year on contract years. So you've got your players who are on tags. You've got your players, as I say, who are coming to the end of their current deals. This could seriously impact a lot of teams in 2021. Now, I personally am of the opinion that I think the overall standard of games, if they are played in 2020, are going to be terrible. Because I think we're going to see something similar to 2011, after the lockout, and teams broke passing records left, right, and centre. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to get a similar case to that. But then the next year, we're going to have teams that are just going to have to gut their rosters.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a lot of players who are going to be cut who you wouldn't expect to. And other teams are not going to be able to afford to pay them what they are actually due. So next year could be a good year for street free agents. But it's something to bear in mind, especially if teams like the Eagles, who somehow managed to lose players for the season without even starting to practice, they're not going to go out and pay top dollar this year for someone like Larry Warford to replace Brandon Brooks, because they need that money next year.
Yeah, it also stands to reason that if you are a player, this is collective bargaining 101, right? That now everybody wants Dak Prescott to get a contract. And what's going to happen is he isn't, because what Jerry can now say, rightly or wrongly, and whether this screws the Cowboys or not, we actually can't afford to tell this situation because we don't know how much money we have. We don't know what the salary cap is, and we can only deal in uncertainties. This is the Liverpool Football Club situation in football this year when they said they weren't buying Timo Werner. This is why, whether anybody likes it or not, Major League Baseball is eating itself from inside to out, as the players want silly things like to be paid for every game they play, and the owners are like, yeah, but we'd still like to make a profit.
Goddamn commies, why do they hate freedom?
Well, exactly, Neil, exactly. Neil, that's the news for this week. Let us get on with an absolutely wonderful interview with Mr. Justin Hathaway from sunny Southern California. Well, it's actually Northern California. He lives now, originally from Southern California. Where we talk about all manner of things. And then on the other side, we will be gone. So until we meet again very soon, these top guys are out. And joining us now on Waxing Lyrical with Mainz and Dutts, it's Justin Hathaway at NFL Newshound on Twitter, VP of Content on NBCS Authentic Bay Area Sports, formerly of NESN, DraftKings and NFL Media. I believe he's a fan of fish and chips in Chester and also a massive Patriots and Liverpool fan. Justin, welcome. How are we?
Yeah, doing great, gentlemen. Good to be with you.
We could talk about lots of different things, but let's be honest, there's only one thing I want to talk about. Liverpool Football Club.
Yes.
Why, and are you looking forward to the next, 3 or 4 weeks?
Oh, I'm really looking forward to it. I wish I could be out there for it. I know they're worried, maybe people will come out into the streets too much, but I don't know. I think people will keep their wits about them on that. Yeah, no, really excited. I thought it was going to be a heartbreak, where they would null and void the season, and I can't imagine that after 30 years of waiting. So just very excited to get it going, and I don't know, it could be just a game or two, right, before they take care of things.
Absolutely. How did supporting Liverpool come about, Justin?
So it's a double story. One is there's a pub in Sacramento, California called Streets of London. And the man who owned the pub was a huge Oxford United fan. And he would always have tapes of old Premier League matches. And the Liverpool games were always on. So I just got sucked in. I said, oh, these guys in red look pretty fun. And they became my club. And then my wife, when I met my wife and married her, she has family there in Birkenhead. And they're big Liverpool supporters. So that kind of sealed the deal there. So I became a fan in a pub. And then I married into it. So I'm double confirmed.
That is absolutely meet all the criteria, right? I think you should. To be honest, I was with you at a pub, but then when you dived in a little bit later, that's good stuff. I think everyone will be sensible
because then I worked for Fenway Sports Group, so I did triple. So yeah,
ticking all the boxes,
Yeah.
So, see, Justin, you mentioned you worked for Fenway Sports, all the the litany of places where you've worked. How did you get your start working in the media, as it were? Was it something you always wanted to do, or was it, pretty much like with my everyday job, I just fell into it and I'll just go with it from here?
Yeah, no, I think it was a lifelong passion. I mean, the funny story is my grandmother found a tape a couple years, I want to say 8 or 9 years ago, of me calling a football game, a UCLA USC football game when I was about 8, doing play-by-play. I think I always just had love for sport and wanted to be in it as a career. And I got lucky enough in college to start working at a newspaper my junior year of college. And I got the bug, and I've been in it since. So yeah, I can't imagine really doing anything else. This is it's been 24 years in sports media. So yeah, it's too late to turn around now. They got me in.
So if we go on that, if I look at your world, work for Fenway Sports Group, seem to be brought up in California, back in California now. What got you to Boston to then go back to California?
Yeah, it was just a great opportunity to join Nesson and Fenway Sports Group, and we were laughing about Liverpool and everything. When I did my interview, they said, we also own this soccer club. I don't know if you know them, Liverpool. And I rattled off the starting 11 right there. And then they said, all right, you're good. We don't, no more questions about Liverpool. But yeah, it was just a great opportunity. And I think one thing about the States is it's so big and it's so massive, right? That there's so many different areas and different things you can learn about sports. Boston, the New England sports psyche is so much different than here in the Bay or down in Los Angeles where I grew up. In the Midwest, where I worked for a while, in Tulsa, Cincinnati, Jacksonville, Florida, in the South. So it was just an opportunity to learn all that and to work in a great sports market. So I was there for 4 years, and it was the fans there. They definitely are passionate, and I've never seen anything like it.
Now, I mean, you hear that kind of thing, and you hear the kind of not the opposite. You're from LA, and there's two massive teams. If we talk baseball, I guess from Nesson, in terms of Red Sox and Dodgers, and both teams are massively supported in those areas. However, it does seem they are supported very differently in a kind of I wouldn't say I'm a Dodgers fan personally. I wouldn't say it was casual, but I wouldn't say it's as fervent / like aggressive as it is in Boston. Did it take some getting used to the change from LA to Boston?
I don't think so. I mean, a little bit, but not as much maybe, because Los Angeles has so many transplanted New Englanders and New Yorkers. So you would go to a Dodgers Red Sox game, or I grew up an Angels fan, so I'd go to Angels Red Sox or Angels Yankees games. And the people from Boston and New York would be at the game. So you got a taste of it. They were pretty rowdy and vocal, and Southern California baseball fans in particular, very laid back, just like, hey, bring me my beer, let's get a hot dog. It's kind of a night out, essentially. Like, it's a nice night out. And if they win, awesome. If they don't, all right, get them next time. Whereas Yankees and Red Sox fans, boy, if they lost that game, they were in your face and telling you stuff about your mother that you never heard before. And So yeah, I had a bit of a taste of it, and especially on the Red Sox side, because a lot of heartbreak between the Angels and Red Sox historically. So I think that's the big difference there, is that, you know, in Southern California, going to Dodger Stadium, going to Angel Stadium is just kind of a cool time. Whereas in Boston, it's in the culture, it's in the blood. Mm-hmm. Same in New York, going to Yankee Stadium, maybe Citi Field a little bit if you're a Mets fan. It's just part of who you are as a New Yorker, as a Bostonian. No one in LA is going to be like, you're not a Los Angelino because you don't like the Dodgers. It's like, okay, whatever. So,
I hear on a grapevine, mainly through Neil, that something that a lot of people from our show listen to around the league, around the NFL as it is now, Messer, Sessler, Hanses, Rosendahl, and Westling. You were in deep in the creation of that. Can you describe your part in it?
Oh, geez. Well, my part was just getting it started. I guess the guys took it from there, right? No, it's a funny story, and it involves a pub. If you want another pub story, you know, we had hit this point at the NFL where I joined there in 2008, December of 2008, and we didn't really have much of a news operation then. It was a lot of Associated Press stories and big features from writers who are no longer there. It just didn't seem like the right way for fans to be consuming football. So we had a couple guys who were on the desk. It was me, Adam Rank, who I think you guys know, this guy named Frank Todick, and the guy Simon Simano, who's now does an MMA site, and Aaron Angel. There was the five of us. And I became quickly the news editor of that group. And one thing we always lacked was the voice of the fans. And so we had Mark and Dan and a bunch of other guys who were there as like 3-day-a-week employees. It wasn't even a full-time job. And they always had a good rapport. So Dan worked the night shift and Mark worked the early shift. And they always had this like crossover time where you could tell they had a chemistry and a relationship, even for those few hours. And so I went to the bosses and I said, hey, you know, they wanted a rival to Pro Football Talk, because Pro Football Talk was a huge thing then, and it was the only thing like it. And they said, we want you to create our version of Pro Football Talk. What will it look like? Who will be involved? And so I knew immediately that Mark and Dan, you know, because of the way that chemistry I mentioned, they were going to be it. And that they didn't have any preconceived notions because they were part-timers. They were going to be open to coaching, direction. So we went to, I just told them, I said, hey, can you guys meet up after work today? We'll go down to Jockster Dailies, which is this pub down the street from the NFL office. They said, sure. They had no clue what it was about. So we got into a nook there and just talked about the concept, and they were totally in. And I guess the rest is history, right? You know, it started that season. And then I would say we did a full season with just those two guys. And then we really needed somebody to be an editor and a boss full time. And so we recruited Greg Rosenthal because, you know, he was the number 2 guy at PFT. So I told my bosses, they were like, who should we get to sort of be the editor of this? And I said, well, if you want to be like PFT, you should probably go steal their right-hand guy, right? So anyways, we talked to Greg. It was that Super Bowl in Indianapolis, that Patriots-Giants Super Bowl, I believe. And then we went back a couple weeks later for the Combine and talked to him again. And I think he was thinking about it. And then after the Combine with Mark was there, I don't think Dan was, and going out and get to know him, then he came in. So once Greg came in, you know, I just handed the reins to him, and, you know, they really took off with it. And I'm really proud of those guys for what they've done with it. But for my part in it, it's very small. It's just getting the ball rolling, and the rest of it is all those guys.
I mean, because we've spoke to the 4 of them on a couple of occasions. I think Greg's been on once. He was the longest holdout. He wouldn't he wouldn't answer our calls, as it were. We've spoke to Mark and Wes and Dan on numerous occasions, and it's, as you say, it's been great to see the chemistry they've got now. But it's interesting that that Dan and Mark had that from the get-go, and it was that chemistry that has led to where it is now.
Yeah, and it was, you know, something that we all kind of noticed. Be like, hey, these 2 part-timers, man, they're like bosom buddies over here, you know? And when you have something like that, when you want to launch a product, it's really important to like the people you're around, right? Because there was a lot of long days and hours. And if you're going to do that, you might as well do that with somebody that you get on with. So, yeah, it was it was great to see those guys. I actually saw them in Miami at the Super Bowl. So it's always like a nice little family reunion when we get together. And Mark came up for the last game in Oakland, and we had a night out there in the city. I showed him some spots. So those guys are fantastic. And like I said, I'm just really proud of what they've done with it. All you do is set the table and let them eat, and they've certainly done that.
It's because, as you say, you've from working at the NFL before around the NFL came in. It was just like this is where we have the featured writers, as it were. You have worked with some pretty high profile writers over the years. The likes of Pat Kerwin, Vic Carucci, and Gil Brandt, of course. Yeah. Given that Gil Brandt is seen as the godfather of the Cowboys, and he's instrumental in making them what they were. How much of a thrill was it knowing that on a working day you're going to be sat next to him or people like that?
Oh well, it's an honor, really. I mean, when I met him, it was like, holy cow, the guy who was basically the godfather of not only the Cowboys but football scouting, right? The way that we look at players. And the better part of it is I have two really quick Gil stories that are fantastic, which is, when you work at the NFL as a manager, they assign you to an event, like you are a part of, you run that event. And the event I was given was the Combine. And so, of course, people were like, you get to go to Indy in February every year. I'm like, I don't mind. First of all, Indy's a great town, a great football town. And that meant I also got to spend 8 days with Gil. And, I did that 3 combines with Gil, and like you said, Neil, he would sit right next to me. He'd whisper stuff like, hey, this is going to happen in 10 minutes. This person's got on the podium, or I'm hearing this person's getting that. And it was fantastic to have that insight. But the better parts would be at the end of one day, he came to me and said, hey, you got dinner plans tonight. And I did. I had some, I think, maybe with some of the ATL guys. And I still call it ATL. It's just a bad habit because it was around the league when we started. But I was like, no, I'm free if you got something going on. And Gil said, meet me at the Ruth Chris at 7:30. So I didn't know this, but that's where he eats every night when he's in Indianapolis. And so I walk in, and he's there waiting for me. And they have a table for him, the whole deal. And it felt like I was having dinner with the Pope, because all these ages, Drew Rosenhaus, and everybody's coming up and kissing the ring, essentially. Gil, great to see you, And we had a nice long meal, but I think half of it was him talking to agents and players coming up to him, just want a picture or just a chat. It was great. And then another combine, he said, hey, I want to teach you some stuff. So I sat next to him while we were at the 40-yard dash line, and he was teaching me how he times 40s. So I was doing stopwatch times for him for a whole group of I think I was getting offensive linemen. They're a little slower, so easier to do the click. But yeah, I learned a lot about football, and not only the history of football, but how to look at football through those days and times with Gil Brandt. Just a fantastic man. And I was really happy to see him get that long deserved nod into Canton. And I'm bummed I couldn't go, but what a fantastic honor for him, and well deserved.
Justin, if we move into I guess where you are now, in Bay Area, the world is upside down compared to where it was 6 months ago, and I guess even in the past 2 or 3 weeks, it's become even more upside down. I guess how is the current climate in the Bay Area, given those two events, coronavirus and obviously the push on Black Lives Matter?
Yeah, I think. We have a lot to listen to and a lot to learn, I think, here, not only in the Bay Area, but in the United States. And the Bay Area, which one of the many things I love about it is it's so international, right? People move here from all over the world to work in tech, in web, in what I do. It is such a multicultural, deep, passionate city, an area, really. Oakland, San Jose. This is a massive area. And I think the climate right now is that people realize we got work to do. And I think, sports is one of those things that can bring everybody together, and they recognize that. But hopefully we, as, people in sports can be a conversation starter and a healing point for a lot of people. And that's really where the focus is right now. We've got a great show out here called Race in America, Candid Conversation, that we do a couple times a week some of our writers and insiders, and we brought on some pretty big people. I think we're going to have some pretty notable NFL names on very soon. I won't spoil the surprise, but I'll give you guys a heads up if it happens. But we want to use our platform for good and for conversation and to make change as change is needed. And I think what we're learning now certainly is.
Can I ask on the major sporting link is obviously Colin Kaepernick, and obviously that links to San Francisco. Obviously there was some pushback on Twitter when San Francisco posted their version of the Black Lives Matters tweet or social media posts. Do you think that San Francisco look back now and think they wish they could have done that in a very different way than it happened?
I'm not sure. I'd hate to speak for the 49ers. I wasn't around for that regime, so I don't know what they were thinking then. I do think just looking at Colin, I think you don't go from 8 yards from winning a Super Bowl to out of the league that quick. I think the whole NFL recognizes that this guy should have had a job at some point, whether that, and I know some people now are picking on the Seahawks, right? Oh, Pete Carroll had him in, you should have signed him. And then there's some, he's not a fit. It's like, well, look at the quarterbacks that are around the league, the way they move, the way they throw. I mean, that's Kaepernick. Now, not the most accurate thrower, and you can look at his college stats. He was in like the low 50%. You never like to see that. In the NFL, you need to be 65, 70% your completion rates. But the guy won a lot of games and went to the Super Bowl. So I think he probably needed a place somewhere, whether that was with the 49ers. That's really up to that management team, right? You can do what you want, but I think there was a lot of other teams that could have grabbed him and probably should have.
To change the topic again slightly, obviously the Bay Area has lost something from its sporting view. Obviously, with the Raiders deserting Oakland and heading to Las Vegas, what's the mood like there? I mean, this is a fan base that has now been, abandoned multiple times by the team. But as we know about Raiders fans, they're nutters. So they are loyal to a fault almost. Is there a sense of disenfranchisement about it, or is there still a level of love for the team like there was before?
So I think there's always going to be the core of folks who are going to love the Raiders. And one thing about the Raiders is I think Al Davis has said this when he was alive, and I think Mark as well, which is the Raiders are the Raiders, right? They're not the Oakland Raiders, the Los Angeles Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. And if you look at what they wear and what their city name is never in there. Now, maybe because they don't know what city they're going to play in, but they see themselves as a brand and a franchise that sort of is outside of a city, right? They're a community. So, and if you've been to ever go to a Raiders game, you see that's very true. I was at the last game at the Coliseum. I live about 20 minutes from the Coliseum, so pretty easy train ride over. It was a celebration really until the end when people realized it was over and started throwing nachos and beer cups and things onto the field. But yeah, I get the sense that the core Raider fans here in the Bay are probably going to stay Raider fans. I mean, becoming a 49ers fan because they're the only team left is a pain worse than death to some Raiders fans. So they'll never do it. The other thing is, look, I think the world that we live in makes sports fandom a lot different, right? You can root for your team from afar. You don't have to live in the city and to go to games. I mean, Las Vegas is a 45-minute plane flight from Oakland on Southwest, and the airport is not far from the stadium. So I think you're going to see a lot of fun, interesting spiked pads and helmets on flights between Oakland and Las Vegas on Saturdays. So I think the Raiders are sort of one of those teams, like I said, they sort of transcend whatever city they're in. I do think, look, it's just a gut punch for Oakland to lose that. The Warriors, of course, used to play. The arena where the Warriors used to play is right next door.
Yeah. They
moved across the Bay into San Francisco, so now the A is the only ones left. To go from 3 teams to 1 in the span of 18 months, that's if you're a hardcore Oakland fan, that's tough. But I think the good thing is that obviously the Warriors stayed in the Bay and you can see them, and Chase Center is beautiful. But yeah, I think like I said, Raiders fans are going to stay Raiders fans, and particularly here in the Bay. And we see that, by the way, in our digital traffic and stuff. The fans haven't left, even though the team has.
That's an interesting one you mentioned on the Warriors, because I think when you're in the UK, you just know them as Golden State, right? You don't really know where they play, kind of. If you get a bit more deep down, you know it's Oakland. But as you said, they are moving. I think they haven't moved yet, or have they moved?
No, they moved this last season. They played in the new arena. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So not very well because everyone was injured. But yeah. So did that have it? I guess. Did that had an impact on the fan base in terms of all the Oakland fans now being less enfranchised with Golden State?
No, I don't think so. I think the Warriors are kind of like, every market has that team that transcends everything, right? And like living in Boston is the Patriots. The Patriots are the number one team right now, anyway. We'll see how this all shakes out with the Jarrett Stidham era.
Yeah.
But in LA, it's the Lakers, but here it's the Warriors, and they're still here. They got a beautiful arena right on the waterfront, a little bit south of the San Francisco Giants ballpark, and the players are doing an amazing job of being connected in the community. Steph's around and very front forward. So is Clay. Coach Kerr is always out and about doing things for the community. And for not only for San Francisco, but Oakland, South Bay. I think the Warriors of all the teams are truly the Bay's team. And as long as they're playing in the Bay, like, the fans here are going to love them. That's probably why they haven't changed to the San Francisco Warriors or the Golden State Warriors. They're really, they're really part of who we are up here.
Last question for you, Justin. Obviously, very grateful for giving up so much of your morning to people like us. I don't know why anyone does it, but anyway. When the world returns to some degree of normality, are we going to see you back over here? Because if you like the fish and chips you got in that pub in Chester, there is a pub in Liverpool that does burgers that'll knock your socks off.
You don't have to threaten me with a good time to come back to Liverpool. I love Liverpool. I wanted to come back, obviously for this championship push. I was already trying to work my connections for a few tickets at Anfield, but I'll be back. I'll be back. Who knows when, but soon. I hope. It would be great to see not only you, Neil, but to really see the family. It's always great. The thing I love about Liverpool is it feels like home. It feels like people are so welcoming. They just want to. They're proud of the city, right? They're very proud of Liverpool. And I've been around the UK, and I don't think I've seen a level of pride in the city like I see in Liverpool. So I will be back. I promise you that.
That's Scouse, not English, man. Yeah.
Exactly. Hashtag Scouse, not English, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, no Maggie Thatcher talk in the pub.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, thanks a lot for your time, Justin. We really appreciate it, and we'll let you get back to your rest of your day.
Yeah. Well, have a great day, gentlemen. Talk to you soon.